Hi, thanks for tuning in. This session is regarding a refresher on Google Docs. There are a lot of old and some new items that are worth reviewing in Google Docs. We'll start with reviewing a tour of Google Docs, looking through the tabs and the frequently used features, along with looking at some newer features and ending with what I would call my top 5 list, the top tips and tools you should know about and how to use them in Google Docs. So let's get started. Let's start with looking at Google Docs and taking a quick tour of what exactly it's made up of. So first, when I go into Google Docs, you can get in there several ways. From your hub over here, you can go in to Google Docs along with any of your other Google tools, or you can go in through Google Drive or what have you. But once you're in here, you'll see you can either start with a blank document or you can use a template. So there's a template gallery right here. Okay. I want to bring your attention to this because sometimes we like to reinvent the wheel when we don't need to. Don't forget, you can use this template gallery. You might not have a quote-unquote book report, but you might like the start or the look of this type of template, and you can completely edit it from here, but you don't have to start from scratch. So you can go to the template gallery, and you can see under General here that there are quite a few options. Reports, of course, all the way down to letters, personal information, things that are broken up to work, series, legal, so on and so forth. So feel free to use those, edit them to something that might work for you. The other tab in template galleries is Fitchburg State University. As you can see here, there are some templates already created. So that means people within our domain have created a template and added it. So someone that might be using a particular template for their class may have added it here. But one of the ones that you may want to find is the Fitchburg State University letterhead. So that is here. That's here as well. So templates are a really nice option to use in the general, or again, if it's specific to Fitchburg State, you can use it from the Fitchburg State template gallery as well. Okay, but I'm just going to start with a blank document here. I'm going to run through these tabs. So, you know, everything is pretty self-explanatory, just like many of the other Google tools. You should be able to find what you're looking for within these tabs. Okay, but so if you're looking to create something new, make a copy, so on and so forth, you can follow through down file, okay, all the way down to print, changing your layout and page setup. One of the things that I mention to people when we talk about cleaning up our Google Drive, right? How do we keep that streamlined? This is where I try to get people to start, which is when you're in something like a Microsoft Word, you usually have to save as, right? And you save it into the location that you want. Well, with Google, we get so comfortable just starting and putting it away because it saves automatically for us, which is lovely. But if you want to organize it from the start, you can do that here. So you could title this, okay, so I'm going to title this my training doc. And then rather than, you know, go back 3 weeks from now or later today, I can actually move this now into the particular file or folder within my Google Drive if I have one already set up. Or I can make a folder from here and say, you know what, I need to make a new folder and put this right in there. So that is just my quick tidbit about Google Drive, and maybe while you're in your Google Doc, if you get in the habit of labeling it, titling it, and then moving it directly into a particular folder, it might start making things a little bit cleaner for you and less to go organize later on. And so that would be moving right under File. And then as you continue on, you've got your typical edit tools, viewing. Okay, I have mine set up to see showing the print layout and so forth. But if you're in a particular document where you want to show the section breaks, you can check that off. You can go in here and obviously check and uncheck as often as you'd like. Insert. Insert is a pretty lengthy list. You can insert images, tables, drawings, charts, so on and so forth. We will talk about smart chips and drop down boxes and so forth. Building blocks, those are templates. another type of a template. If you want to put in an email draft or some sort of a review tracker, meeting notes, those are great options. They create the template right for you. Okay, watermarks, which we'll talk about as well. Those are all available right here in the insert. Okay, formatting, do all of your typical formatting here. Then you've got your other option, which is tools. Okay, so we talk about voice typing and about linking objects in the Explore button. Another thing that we forget about is the Explore button. Down here on the right, we've got this Explore button, but again, you can find it under Tools. This is just basically an option where you, instead of getting out of your document, you can do some searching. So you could either do a web search, you could do an image search. Okay, so I'm going to do an image search. Cute dog. And of course, it's going to first give me a web search, but I'm going to move over here to the tab that's images. And it's going to give me those that are appropriate for me to add to my document here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to press the plus sign and insert it. So rather than having to open another tab, do a Google search or an image search, this does it for me. I can also do the same with my drive. If I wanted to include something from my drive, I could do it right here from the Explore button. So it's kind of hiding down here on the bottom right, staying out of your way, but feel free to use that as well. And again, that's found in Tools, comparing documents, citations, all of that. So you're really going to look in the Tools or the Insert for your big items. Obviously, if you had any kind of extensions added or add-ons, those would be here, and so forth. A couple of other things we should definitely review is your version history. Version history can be found under the File tab and also here where it says Last Edit. Okay, I typically use this area, but either one will get you to the same location. And all that does is it brings you to all of the history of this particular document, which of course isn't much because we've just been using it. But you can imagine if you've got a document with many users in it, or one that you've been working on for several times, you might want to look at the version history and to see. So the nice thing about here is that if I decided, hey, you know what, I really don't like that I just added this adorable but large puppy into my document, I can go back to the first version here, which is really my blank slate. Okay, and here it says restore this version. Okay, I can restore this version. Okay, so I'm going to revert it back to this first version and I say yes. Okay, now if I go back here and it tells me, okay, you restored it, now I'm back to my blank, you can see I'm still showing all of my versions. Okay, so I didn't lose my adorable puppy version, but I've decided I'm not going to use that one right now. So in the case that you've got a user who's really mucked up your document, or you just feel like, you know what, this was great, but we went in the wrong direction, you can always restore prior versions of a document. You can even name them. So it's like draft, you know, of this day or what have you, to make it more organized. So that makes people more comfortable when they realize, in fact, they can restore versions and they can even look and see what's happening. So for me, you can see I'm kind of highlighted green. So if there were various people writing in this document, you'd be able to see them by different colors, but you can see my name is associated with this color. And so forth. So I can go ahead and see my version history anytime. It's automatically being saved as we speak here. Okay, so that's one nice thing to really keep in mind, and always know that if there's a mistake or a change that needs to be made, you can go back to different versions and so forth. Okay. When we talk about filtering comments, right here, this is the comment icon. If there are many comments, you can see here, I could look at all, or I could look at the comments that were specifically for me and filter them as this option gives me. Okay. Then we've got the share button. As you know, anytime you start or create a document, it is automatically private to you and it is not shared until and unless you choose to share it. So right now, this very blank document is only with me. I haven't shared it with anyone. So I have to manually share it by pressing the share button. And so I can either start adding in people, which is really easy to do if they're in our domain or within our directory here. So we'll keep using Stefan. I start typing in anyone's name, and I can add them in pretty easily. Okay, and then it tells me, how do I want to share it with them? So in Google Docs, you have three options. They can be a viewer, which means they literally just be able to view it, take a peek. They could call you with their changes. They could email you, text you, say, hey, I think it's great, but they won't actually be able to make any edits or comments within the document. They can also be just a commenter. So if that's the case, then they'll be able to view it and also be able to put a comment next to different pieces of your document. And you, as the owner, will be able to say, oh, I like that comment. Let's make it part of our document. Or, no, thank you. But again, you still completely hold control over that document. But now you've given them the ability to provide some sort of feedback in the way of comments. And then lastly is editing. And if you want them to be an editor, then they will have complete editing control over your document until or unless you change their role, which you can do. Okay, and what I mean by that is that you can come in here and change the role of a person you've shared with anytime. So when I've completed this document, maybe I want to then make Stefan just a viewer, right? Or I want to make an expiration. So he can be an editor and I can give him access to this until a certain date. So where it says editor and then it says edit expiration, you can actually put on an expiration date and time to, again, automate the process and allow you not to worry about after a certain date and time that person having too many rights to your document. You can put in a message and then send it off and it's shared. Okay. Another way to share is by a group of people. So for me, a lot of the documents that I share, I want to share by a link. So what I'll do is I will go to General Access and I will share with Fitchburg State. So that means anybody in Fitchburg State will be able to view this document once I give them the link. So I can copy this link and I can put it in an email, I can put it in a video, what have you, and then once they click on that, anyone with a Fitchburg State domain will be able to, or account will be able to go right into the account, right into the document and view it. Okay, if this is something that you're linking maybe to the website, you might want to put it as anyone with the link. Okay, so you have to decide on that occasion. So if you're worried about, oh, I need to, share this with the entire university, then certainly you don't need to add every person in here. You can do it by a link, and sometimes that just makes it a little bit easier and cleaner. So either way you decide, okay? So the other thing is when you do make these decisions on who you want to share with, okay, you can go up here to this gear. I'm just going to show you real quick again. This gear, there are a couple more options hidden, okay, and that is how do you want editors can change permissions and share. So if I make Stefan an editor here, he can then, with this check mark here, he can then change permissions of anyone else and share this document more. And then also, if I choose to share this with anyone who is a viewer and a commenter, they will have the ability to download, print, and copy. So please keep in mind, these are by default. So every single time you share a document in Google Docs, okay, if they're an editor, they will have the option to share it with someone else and change people's permission, unless you go into that gear and unselect this option. Also, for those who you send the document to who is a viewer or a commenter, they will still only be able to view or comment, but they will be able to download, print, or copy the document, which in most cases may be not a problem at all because they like paper and they want to print it and, touch it and whatever. But in some cases where it's confidential or you don't want them to do that, you do need to make note that you have to go into each time into this gear and make sure you select it. And this would be for anyone in this particular document. So I don't have to do it every single time I add someone, but I have to do it for every document. Okay, so that is one kind of bonus feature there that does get overlooked to keep in mind in the sharing. Again, may not affect you or bother you, but if you have a particular unique situation where you don't want printing or copying to occur, you do need to go into this gear and just make sure you've unselected as I have here, these options. Right, so those are your share options. So right now you can see I have mine just generally sharing. I could still have added in anyone if I wanted to, or I could just share this link to Stefan or to someone else. Either way, whatever's comfortable for you. Then I press done. I know I've shared it by a link because this share button has now turned from a lock into this kind of like building with a link underneath. And if I hover, it will tell me exactly what that means. Okay, and so I can go from there. Hopefully that gets you started or reviews those main topics in Google Docs that you may have forgotten about. And I hope that these next top five of my list are helpful uses in Google Docs that you will start using. First is table of contents. Seems pretty simple, but it may be an overlooked tool that is easy to use and easy to find within Google Docs. A table of contents, as you know, is a list at the beginning of a document that can tell you all the sections and headings in the document, and then it corresponds with the page numbers. When you pair this table of contents with bookmarks, which is number 2, it provides a really easy to navigate document that I really like. So I will take a peek here and show you what table of contents looks like and how you find it right under the Insert tab, fourth one in. So here we are in a basic blank Google Doc. And I can go here to the 4th tab over Insert. I've got a lot of options, but I need to scroll all the way to the bottom to see Table of Contents. I've got 2 options. I can do plain text with some numbering, or I can add in links. So you can play around and decide which one you like better. But once I put that in there, I can start adding in my headings and so forth. Then my number 2 on my list here is to insert bookmarks. Inserting a bookmark allows you to basically link within your document. So when I have a document and I want to provide a link to a section within the document, it makes it hard to do that when you're not linking someone outside of the document, right? So it's really great when you're saying, hey, here, go to this website. I can put a link in there. But when I just want to drive them to another page within a very long or convoluted document, a bookmark is a really nice way to do that. So this way you don't have people moving throughout your document and trying to find something. You can move them directly there. So once I have my heading created, I can use a bookmark to hyperlink my text to my bookmarked item. So every time I click on my heading, it will take me to the bookmarked item in my document. So let's go back to my document here. I have my table of contents and I have 4 areas or 4 headings, and 3 of them you can tell are linked and 1 of them is not. So what we're going to do here is link it in a bookmark. So the first 3, Google multi-send feature, turn on multi-send mode, create personalized email with mail merge. Those are all just topics within this particular document, and then the more information is actually a link with outside of this document, and that's easy enough to set up. But when I want to drive people to reading certain portions of this document, I had to think of a way to do that, and so I set up a bookmark. So the first thing I did is I went to the section that corresponds with Google multi-send feature. So if I scroll down here, that it happens to be the first area here. Okay, I highlight this, and then I can go to Insert, I scroll all the way down, press bookmark, and now I have a bookmark there. And then I have the option to copy the link or delete it. So I want to copy this link so that I can put it into the heading so that anytime somebody selects this link, it will bring them to that bookmark. So here, to set up a link, I highlight the heading. I go to this link icon, insert link, and sometimes it will actually give me the, it might give me the option here, right here, but if not, I can just insert my link. The link was suggested. I press enter, and there it is. So now anytime someone reading this document selects this area, they'll press bookmark and it will bring them right to the bookmark I've created. Again, this is just an easy way to create navigation within your document. This document is only 7 pages, but you can imagine a document that might be several, hundreds of pages. You might want to eliminate the scrolling and help them to take the table of contents and make it interactive. And a way to do that is by setting up your table of contents, again, by inserting table of contents here. And then once you have that set up, you can highlight the sections in your document that you want to bookmark. So again, here's another one. Turn on multi-send mode. All I did was I highlighted it, I created the bookmark, I inserted the bookmark, I copied the link, and then I put the link into my heading in my table of contents. So now anytime I select this link, it will bring me to that portion of the document. So that's how headings and bookmarks work in Google Docs. Play around with it. Again, they're just useful in the sense of creating large documents, helping people navigate through them. If you're looking to link like you do outside of a document, it just makes it nice and easy to use. I find that people just want to go to certain sections of a document, and this helps them to do that. So feel free to use those 2 features within Google Docs. Number 3 on my list is voice typing. You've probably heard me mention this before, but if you're new to Google Docs, you might not be familiar. Voice typing is found under the Tools tab, and this allows you to use your voice to input text. So if you're familiar with using voice to text on your cell phone, it's very similar. In addition, you can use your voice to edit or format the document. There are a lot of useful pieces to this, and I will link you to how to do all of that. At the end of this presentation, there are some more resources on that. So let's look at how exactly that works. I'm back here into my blank, untitled Google Doc, and I am going to show you how to use my number 3 feature, which is voice typing. So this is under the Tools tab, amongst others, is voice typing, almost down here at the bottom. If I select that, this box comes over here to the left. Once I select that microphone, that gives me the option to start voice typing, essentially. So I can start doing that. If you're familiar with Google Meet or any of the other automated voice typing that we have in our Google Suite, it does a pretty good job, but it will likely need to be edited. So just keep that in mind. But uses for this could be transcribing something, or dictating something, writing a large message or a book, if you're just more comfortable with speaking versus typing to start, and then going back and editing. It can come into very good use that way. Students can use it, those who like to just get their thoughts out in speaking and so forth. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to click this microphone, and I'm going to start speaking. And you will see as it types, first of all, the red microphone, that tells me that it is on, it is working. You can see as I'm talking, it might start to change some of the words. And sometimes it picks up on the commands, period. So in that case, it didn't actually say or type the word period, and it actually put the period. So again, at the end of this presentation, there is a link to learning more about the commands if you want to use your voice to actually put in the grammar and the spelling and change everything that way. Period. And now I'm going to stop this. So you can see in just a few seconds, I was able to write a paragraph here. And I could just go in and manually change this just like I would any other document. Easy enough. But again, if for whatever reason you want to do all of it by voice, you can do that. And Google does explain exactly how to do that in different ways. So this could be a really helpful feature that sometimes, again, is overlooked. And I just wanted to bring it to top of mind and get your wheels in motion about how maybe you could start using this. Next on my top 5 is number 4, smart chips. If you read my emails, you've probably seen this come out, but maybe you're too afraid to use it. This is when you are in a Google Doc and you use the @ symbol. This will bring up tables, images, your ability to grab and pull in all kinds of items without actually having to go outside of your doc and attach them. So you can do @ and then put in somebody's name. You could do @ and pull in a file, other content, a chart, a list, a checklist, other elements that you might find useful. So let's see what that looks like. Smart chips. You could go to Insert and go to Smart Chips and specifically pick which one you want to include. So a date, a person, so forth. Or as I mentioned, you could go right into your document. Obviously, you might have a document that is filled with information and do the @ And here you could add in people. So for me, Stephen Dodd comes up. So I might want to add him in here. So he's part of it. And it even brings up, you've mentioned this, but you haven't given them access to this document because you can see at the top right, I've not shared this with anyone yet. So this actually prompts me to share this so that this doesn't go unnoticed. So I could even share this with him right then and there. If I go back to @ I can put in a date, right? What date do I want to put this in here? So maybe I'll put today's date and so forth. And this just allows me to start putting in information again without having to exit the document and be able to put some things in here. So I could put in, a file that I might be working on. So I'm mentioning Stefan, I'm letting him know a date, I'm putting in a file I want him to look at. So it's all in one exclusive area. It makes it really nice. The next option is also doing building blocks, which is kind of like a template idea. Number 5 on my list is approvals. This is a feature that also often goes overlooked because if you're not thinking about it in various ways, you might think, I don't need approvals. I can just share my document. But what I like about approvals is that once a document is sent for approvals, the reviewer gets an email. And depending on how their notifications are set up, they might also get a Google chat. And if you set a due date, the reviewers will receive an email reminder letting them know that their approval is needed or past due. So if you think of an approval as just a way of keeping the document as top of mind or, hey, I really need a response from you, then it's a nice way to automate that process by putting in an approval, not so much as I really need you to approve yes or no. So thinking of it that way, you might want to start using the approval feature in Google Docs. And as you can see from this visual here, it's really easy to set up. And again, it allows for you to kind of send it off and let the reviewer get notified and also do some of the work there on the end without you constantly having to keep them updated or request their response. So let's take a look at that. So I'm here in the same document again, and I'm going to go to File, Approvals. I'm going to select that. And as you saw, this sidebar will come up saying Request Approval. Do you want to get feedback and approval? You need to finalize your file. And it will walk you through exactly what you need to do. So make a request. So who do I want to approve this? So I'm going to add in Stefan for this case. Okay, and do I want to put a message? This would just be like if you were sharing the document and saying, hey, I'm sharing this document with you. Can you please look it over? If you want to provide a message, you can do that. Okay, so please review this by Friday. I appreciate your time. And then I can also set a time, so 6 o'clock. And then just make sure you're scrolling down to get to the OK. Once you press OK, you'll see your due date and time there. And do I want to allow this person, the approver, to edit the file? Right? So before they approve it, do I want them to make some edits to it if they have edits? Sure. Okay. Do I want to lock it before I send the approval request so they can't do anything to it? Okay. Edits during the approval process will reset any recorded approvals. So if they make any changes, they'll have to approve it again. And then I can go ahead and send off this request. Then I send the request off. And it will pop up and say, oh, you didn't share this yet. So I need to share this with just him because I'm just asking him to review it. And now I'm sharing it with him. And off it goes. And I can see here what's happening. I'm pending approval. I'm looking for that. So once that's done, he will go in and hopefully approve it, look it over, edit it because I gave him editing rights. And once it's approved, I'll be notified and I can open it and see how things are going. So in this, I can open it and I can see that he's pending. I can see my details of when I set it up. And now it's all set. So all those details that you might already putting in maybe your task list so that you follow up with somebody can be done for you right in the approval sidebar if you set it up in that fashion. So again, just something to think about, another way to look at using this type of feature. Of course, there are so many features in this Google Docs tool that I couldn't go without giving you a few more honorable mentions. So along with those top 5, I also want to mention compare documents, watermarks, and filter comments. Compare documents allows you to pull 2 different documents and compare the differences of one person to the other in those documents. So you can pull one document together and then pull another document up and see what what differences there Allison might have made in each one of those documents. It helps you to compare them, review them, and there's more information about those in this presentation as well. Watermarks, again, super easy to add. It's under the Insert tab, and a lot of us think of it as a draft or, what have you, but you can insert a watermark. It could be even a background logo. It's something to consider, again, when you are sending off this information, especially to many people. You might want to just, put in a watermark. It's easy. It sets it up for you. You can add one, as you can see here, that they've provided with you. You can just type in a word, or you can actually put in a particular image. So watermarks is a nice one, easy, and walks you right through the process. And then the next one I have here is filter comments. So when you have many, many people in a document and you're all commenting, you might want to filter through, hey, you know what, I haven't looked at these in a while. I just want to see, who has commented, or what person has commented. You can actually go to comments and filter through them. So, maybe take a peek at those as well. Worth using. Might want to get, again, your wheels turning and think about using them in different ways that you haven't quite yet. And then, of course, as I mentioned, you do have some resources in this presentation. This presentation is linked under the YouTube video here, but these are the beginning tips, what you can do with Google Docs, the voice typing and all the commands related there, and using Google Docs. So please feel free to use those as well.